You know, a couple years ago, we were saying that OU needed to score on every single possession because we had no reliance on the defense. The monkey paw curled because now we have to score on every single possession because we're only going to get the ball 4 or 5 times a game. Yesterday being no different at this point. Less on the offense, though, and more on the defense. So we'll get right into that here in just a moment. But good afternoon, Sooner Nation. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and enjoyed watching the OU K-State game. Like I said in my preview video, I'm actually kind of disappointed that I didn't go up there because with weather permitting, I was going back and forth if I wanted to make that road trip game. If we're on the final of like the farewell tour for the Big 12 before OU moves to the SEC. And I have wanted to check out K-State stadium because I also have a lot of friends up there. So it would have been fun to attend the game with them. Unfortunately, because again, I had a wedding I went to the previous weekend, I was still tired from that as well. And I'm still feeling it doing that about 30-hour drive, as well as I wasn't sure about the weather because I didn't want to get there for a 2:30 kick and not actually kick off until 8 o'clock. So that all said, though, it looked like there was pleasant weather yesterday. I don't think it rained at all. I think it was pretty overcast like what we saw on the television at that point. So, but let's dive right into OU K-State postgame. First off, OU wins. OU, to me, played their most complete game since probably Western Carolina. And I don't even count Western Carolina because they're an FCS team and they're a bad FCS team. But regardless, OU played pretty competent ball on both sides of the ball. They won 37-31. Again, it was just the most complete game of the year. I give a lot of credit to K-State. It's not a secret that I don't like K-State's head coach. He reminds me of too much a lot of Pete Carroll, but I give him credit. He does something I've been wanting OU to do all year, and he plays 4 complete quarters, and he leaves everything on the field. He went for onside kicks. He had an open, complete playbook going. His play calling was great. Like, everything as a whole with it was what I want to see OU do and play 4 complete quarters, and they did. So I want to get the hats off to K-State. I also want to give hats off to Skylar Thompson and Deuce. We all knew Skylar was going to play. I mean, I know Kleinman said on Monday that Skylar may or may not play. That was Monday. That was several days before. We all knew Skylar was probably going to play. And even looking like the minimum that either he was still hampered by injury maybe or anything. He was pretty much in the pocket all day. He still was a baller yesterday. So I don't know if that's a reflection on our defense or a reflection of how great of a player he was and how much we were expecting. But regardless, K-State came out to play. They wanted that 3rd win in a row. And I think they wanted to get that win before we move to the SEC as they come here next year, if we're still in the Big 12. So again, hats off to K-State at that point. Again, I do think it's funny though with with this game is as badly as we're playing right now with it, we're still undefeated. We're 5-0 and we're 2-0 in the conference. And as everyone is putting it at this point that they're still waiting for OU to lose a game because they say, look, you're one of the most disappointing and interesting undefeated teams we have ever seen. Our response is, but you've heard of us. That's the important part. And we're still winning. And at the end of the day, as much as I want to complain, as much as I want to say how much there's problems on both sides of the ball from previous games and everything, we're still winning. We're still bringing home the W, and a W is still more important than a loss. I'll take a W any day of the week, whether it's a good or ugly win at this point. So let's delve right into them. I want to talk about the positives that OU played yesterday. I have to say, everything I mentioned in the preview game video where Rattler had to play better, the play calling had to be better, they had to lean on the run game, they had to make score at least 3 touchdowns. They did all of that. I'm surprised that they played to that script. Rattler, yesterday, as much as people have complained, Rattler played a very, very, very solid game. Even I have very minimal complaints. I think one of the things I do think that we have to realize with this team right now is while the floodgates are not going to open with this team, I just don't see that happening, not with this personnel at the moment. I do think something we have to recognize with Rattler for sure is he reminds me a lot of Bookie in that he's making back-breaking almost interceptions. And I'm not going to go as far to say like it changes like the score drastically where it's just one of those, it brings a team back into the game. But I do think that those back-breaking interceptions are causing us to lose momentum during the game. When he threw the interception, sure, it didn't really give Kansas State a close advantage field at that point, but it did change the momentum a lot. And it is leaving the defense out to dry when they're doing their best to get us turnovers and everything. We got to score on that point. Speaking of scoring, OU scored on every single possession they had. Sure, it was not a touchdown, but they got points. They did not leave any points on the board on it. And that was something I mentioned in the preview game is they got to score at least 3 touchdowns. And even more so, and I should have thought of it before, they have to score on every single possession, especially if teams are just going to sit and squat on the ball. And that's what they did. They scored on every single possession they had. So regardless, kudos to OU for that. Another thing they did was finally, after almost 4 weeks, I know my voice is getting loud on that one because it is frustrating. They finally committed to the run yesterday. I thought they committed a little bit in the Nebraska game before they went away with it. But in this game, they actually committed to the run. So much so they gave Kennedy Brooks the ball. Everything, every fan and every sportscaster has been saying to give Kennedy Brooks the rock. Let him run. Let him break down those opposing defenses and wear them out so it opens up the pass game. It's amazing what happens when you give Kennedy Brooks the ball, and it does exactly that, and it opens up the pass game. But Kennedy Brooks was a baller yesterday. He really showed his power strength. We saw a little bit of gray here and there, and we were seeing that Jeremiah Hall looks like he's going to be like kind of almost the third string. I don't know what that means if Riley doesn't trust third and fourth string at this point. But regardless, Brooks did get the ball, which to me opened up to Rattler playing much better yesterday. And that contributes as well to the O-line. But Rattler made a lot of better reads. His running was much better. He didn't look scared to run into the defense at this point to pick up first downs. I think both of those combined really helped build the framework that we've been wanting this OU offense to have. I really wish as a whole the offense had this framework against Nebraska. So we had 2 more games to build up before Texas. Better late than never at this point. Regardless, that's what they're doing. They're building the framework for that. The only other thing I want to highlight at this point too was the play calling was much better. So kudos to Riley for that. I went on my preview video, like I said, in this Kansas State game, and I had an afterthought of maybe the play calling is limited as well. It's not just because of the O-line and the run game, but maybe some of those players are injured. I remember a couple games back where Marvin Mims was hit pretty hard in the chest, and they said he was okay. And I think that was Western Carolina or Nebraska. Maybe that's the case, why he hasn't been getting any looks or anything lately, and he's just been out there. He's been playing. Who knows? And maybe not. Maybe I'm just fabricating something with it that I just don't know what I'm talking about. But the wide receivers played well yesterday. Everyone got a look at this point with it. And again, that falls to also the O-line. The O-line played pretty well yesterday. They're still having some struggles, but they've done. This was probably their best game in my opinion. Since Western Carolina. So again, offense did much better. Let's use this as a foundation and start building for what we want for the end of the season. Because again, we're 5-0, we're 2-0 in the conference. We got to go undefeated, in my opinion, to make it into the college football playoff. I know this is kind of a crazy season at this point with everybody who's losing, and I don't really think anyone's challenging Alabama and Georgia as of right now. Those kind of seem to be the front runners, but there's still a lot of football to be played. Getting undefeated there, as well as building upon the offense, that slow grind really has helped out. It makes me think of the Juggernaut from X-Men. He's slow to get going, but once he gets going, he's an unstoppable force. That's what OU needs to do. Now let's switch gears from the offense to the struggles the defense had yesterday. The defense has been the bend but don't break mentality. But yesterday was probably the worst game they've played all season since the second half of Tulane. Defense didn't really do well. Now, it's unrealistic, guys, to expect the defense to play lights out defense every single game of the week. That's just unrealistic. You're going to have plays that happen with busts. You're going to have plays where there's big plays that happen against you. The defenses get tired. Like, there's no way they're going to be playing this lights out defense every single game. And as everyone said, at some point, someone's going to exploit that defense. I don't think K-State did, but they definitely exploited the areas of concern with the defense. One of the things I mentioned is, and I think this was more apparent in this game than any of the others, I don't think the defense is giving as much pressure as I would like them to. Mind you, they're pushing and they're the best unit on the field. Like, that's not even a question at this point. But I would like to see a little more push to get to that quarterback. I felt like Skylar had all day to throw. And again, I don't know if that was just their O-line. I don't know if that's the defensive struggles. Who knows at that point? But I do want them to get a little more consistency with giving pressure to that opposing quarterback. In addition, they just got to break through the line and they got to get to Skylar at that point. I know a lot of players had some good games yesterday, but Skylar was able to have enough of those wide receivers break away. Again, that falls back into secondary stuff. But if the linebackers and the line are able to get to him, he's making more inconsistent throws and having to throw it away. Speaking of the secondary, that was kind of our biggest weakness yesterday as well. The secondary just did not play well yesterday. They kept giving 3rd and 4th downs, and that was something that I've been harping on since all my preview videos, that 3rd and 4th down is a problem. If OU's only going to get the ball 5 to 6 times a game because the defense, because the opposing offenses are going to sit on the ball, the defense has got to come up with turnovers, or they got to get them off the field. Yesterday was not a good day for getting Kansas State off the field. 3rd down, they converted every 4th down they had, and I believe 3rd and 4th down, or 3rd down conversions, I think it was like something like 8 of 15. It was a ridiculously high amount. They didn't get them off the field, and that led to points at times. That was a big weakness. So defense just did not have their strongest game. But on the flip side too, I do want to delve back offense really fast as well. The O-line also didn't have its best game either, because it kept having a lot of penalties. Tyrese Robinson got flagged a whole lot on the field. Penalties, you got to clean that up, guys. We can't have those backbreaking penalties where we're only a couple yards away from the end zone, only for it to be like 3rd or 1st and 17 or 1st and 20 because of an unsportsmanlike conduct or a false start. We got to work on that at this point. I think it's escalated to a point where we should not be having more than 5 penalties a game, in my opinion, at this point, especially with some of these experienced players, and especially with how much we know Beaton Bow harps on the O-line at this point. We got to clean that up, because that's all I got for K-State. Next week is our big rival, Texas, down in Dallas for the Red River Shootout. College Game Day is going to be there. It's probably the first time in quite some time that they have been there, because probably too, one of them wants to call the game at this point. That's what I watched on another video. Is I think it was it's not Herbie. I'm forgetting it. Regardless, they're going to be down there next week. This is going to be the gut check. This is the halfway point of the season. OU has to come out and give their most solid performance yet. Build upon, use this game to build upon and go into the next game. That's what matters, that we have the foundation there. Let's do that. Let's do it against Texas and send a message to the rest of the Big 12 with that. So that way they also know they can't sit on the ball and we can't have it. So regardless of that, I think here in about an hour and a half, guys, I'm going to have the live stream, my usual Sunday live streams to recap K-State. Look for it in the comments below. Remember, comment, rate, subscribe. I always appreciate every person who comments and subscribes to the channel. As I continue to harp, I want to get 1,000 viewers before, or about 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We're slowly making it there, but I want to push. I still want to continue to push for it and see what we can do with it. I'm getting little ones here and there, and I'm proud of that. But let's keep pushing. Let's keep pushing. As I mentioned as well, I've also reached one of the videos, not including Western Carolina, reached over 500 views. So let's continue that momentum, as the team is as well on the offense. Let's continue that momentum with the videos and stuff as well. The only other thing I want to bring up on it while I'm thinking of it as well, before we wrap everything up, I know there's going to be controversy around that double review. What it boils down to, guys, is if the refs get it right the first time, neither side's going to be grumpy about it. Because if this went against OU, riots on the football field at this point, because that would have been the second time almost in about a 20-year period where OU has been screwed by onside kicks, essentially. Get it right the first time, you won't have that. K-State's upset because obviously the double review, but it's in the rules that the refs can go back and look at that stuff. You look at the play as a whole, you don't look at specific things from it. That's what the challenges are for, guys. That being said, though, again, cannot stress it enough. I get it. I understand it. But the decision was right on the field. If they get it right the first time, none of this would have been a controversy at all. That's what happens. So regardless, guys, Boomer Sooner, there's only one Oklahoma, and I hope to see y'all at the live stream later tonight.